I almost committed suicide. Again, I feel like I've talked about this before, but I'll just backtrack a little bit again. I grew up in the church, but I gave my life to Christ when I was 19. You know, personally, I gave my life to Christ when I was 19. But from the age of 19 until the age of 26, I struggled. And I mean, like, struggled, because when you involve yourself in certain things, there's a level of deliverance that has to happen, that I, just kept diving deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into things. And as I talked in my previous video, one of them was definitely, I guess you can call it an addiction. I guess it's an addiction. It was definitely dependency for sure. The Lord had to do some massive work in me. Like, when I think about how I am now and the hurt that I thought I got over, especially like, with my abuse, I wasn't over it. And truthfully, the Lord had to put me in this isolation because what had happened prior to was just so massive, and I never got over it. I almost committed suicide. And I had already decided, like, okay, I'm gonna jump in front of a bus. It was crazy because for a long time, I didn't feel anything. It's weird. Like, for a long time, I felt as though I was just going through the motions. And again, me, smoking like a chimney. Physically, I just didn't feel anything. I didn't feel pain. I didn't have nothing. I didn't really take time to think about anything. And I also was very busy. I kept myself busy. And I used to do hair. I've done a few celebs, and I used to do shoots, and I was, essentially living people's dreams. People dreamed to do what I was doing. And I wasn't happy. It was just a way to stay busy. And for me, doing hair has always been a way that I handle stress. So when I was younger, I would change my hair literally every other day because I was stressed. Like, that's how I channeled my stress. And I'm one of those people who, if I'm stressed out, I just get busy. I start being busy and doing things. And yeah, so me having an outlet of doing hair professionally, in this sense, was just enabling my behavior. And so much so that there was a point where, again, it just became pointless. I was going to therapy. I tried that, and I knew what my issues were. That's the crazy part. I knew exactly what was wrong. I knew the things that were bothering me. The place that I was very toxic in terms of where I was working, and just the personal, emotional things that were going on were just so overbearing. And during this time, when I've kind of come to the full acceptance of my issues, my childhood issues and trauma, and think about it, it's 26 years of being delusional, in a sense, because I was living a lie for 26 years. And then I had to come to acceptance about certain things, and I had to accept them. And that was really hard. And that was really challenging. And so much so where it's just like, yeah, I don't even know myself. I don't even know who I am. So all of that really became so overpowering. And honestly, it sounds weird to say, but when I was seeing my therapist, and he's like, I'm sitting here talking to him, and I'm telling him, and I'm walking through all my issues and talking to him about it. And I'm telling him, like, hey, yeah, this is what's wrong with me. And these are the issues. And I know that it's led to this and this and the third. And I'm breaking it down to him. And he's just like, I don't even know why you come to me. Like, you know exactly what's wrong. Like, this is great. Like, and I'm just like, this is great. Like, you can't help me either. So, that's when I had decided, like, yeah, you know what? This just ain't it. And I remember around my birthday in December, this was a couple months before I had made that decision. I texted all my friends, and I had asked them, like, why do you love me? And a few of them were like, why are you asking me that question? They freaked out, but they kind of brushed it off. And it was weird because I felt like no one could see me. I felt like no one could hear me. And it's like when you go to a therapist and they're just like, oh, well, oh, it's great that you know that what's wrong with you and whatever. And I'm like, bro, can you help me, please? Like, can somebody help me? But in that time, I was definitely backslidden isn't even the word. And there were other things going on as well. And there was just no hope. There was just no hope. And I just felt like, you know what, this is pointless. And if I'm not being seen and being heard, then, you know, I'd rather just not continue with this whole thing because it's ghetto here. And that was my mindset, and I had settled on it. And the crazy part is that it's like, I literally had planned it out. I was like, I want to make it look like an accident because I don't want, I don't want anyone to feel guilty because, maybe they didn't see it coming or whatever. And, I had settled that I was going to jump in front of a bus. And it's crazy because I had literally planned a photo shoot, for that day. And because I was doing a hair series, and I had planned a photo shoot for that day. I woke up early. I had some things that I had to buy. I purchased my favorite bagel. I love an everything bagel with cream cheese. And it was so crazy because that day I woke up and it felt like the first time that I had like seen color. It felt like the first time I could actually smell. The sun was the way that it was shining, and I feel like I could feel everything for the first time, like ever. I felt more alive that day than I had before. And ironically, the day that I had again decided that I was going to take my life. And like I said, I went about my day, and then I ended up picking up a friend of mine, and she was going to come with me to the shoot. My dad called. We got into this argument, and I just blurted it out. I was like so distraught, and I had blurted it out, and I was like, why can't anybody see that I'm like, in distress and distraught? This is why I'm going to jump in front of a bus. And it just came out. And my dad was like, what? And I was like, nothing. And I hung up the phone. And then my dad called me back. And he's like, what did you say? And like, that was really like the first time I had felt hurt. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to jump in front of a bus. And he was like, what? And like, he's like, are you joking? I was like, no. And I broke down and, told him what I was planning and everything. And he's like, okay, are you good to drive and everything? And it was crazy because at that point I felt numb. I literally packed up all my stuff. And I was living in Brooklyn at the time. I packed up all my stuff and I left. And from that moment, I didn't really have time to get over that at all. I no longer was working at the place where I was working at. And then I had got a new job. So, I went from, I had my moment, I was sad, I cried, I prayed with my dad, and then I kind of just carried on and then started this new job and never addressed what had happened. So when the Lord was calling me to this isolation period, I feel like it was at a point where it's just like, listen, I pulled you out from the job that you were at. I pulled you out from Brooklyn. I brought you back home into a safe space, and I want to do the work in you that needs to be done so that you can finally move on and I can use you for what I need to. But all I can say is that you have a testimony to give, but if you don't give yourself that chance by taking a chance and allowing yourself to be uncomfortable, but letting the Lord do the work in you, because at the end of the day, that's the beauty about do the work in you. you'll just keep repeating the cycle, and nobody wants that. I don't want that for you. You want that for you? Because I don't want that for you. I want you to glow, grow, and flow, okay? But remember that the juice can only come from the squeeze, and it requires you to be uncomfortable. It requires you to be in a place that really you don't want to be in. It requires you to be in a space that is just like, why am I here? I don't want to be here. I want to be somewhere else that makes me feel safe. But then you realize that the place that was making you feel safe was actually what was creating the hurt. Stop sabotaging yourself. Stop sabotaging your growth. You were meant to be more than what you even envisioned for yourself.